This episode is sponsored by Naked Snake, the only snake strong enough to eat other snakes.
Must be a friend of theirs.
Oh, expecting an introductory monologue? One where I ask a hypothetical question and then begin to go on a seemingly unrelated diatribe that circles back to a running theme of the episode in question? If you did, then my man, woman? Viewer, yeah. Clearly we're starting to find our own little rhythm, one that is based on dependable expectations and spontaneous fun. But just to keep things fresh, I'm actually going to start off this review by talking about the show's intro, because my goodness is it glorious. Well, and because it plays before any other scenes in this episode, so where better to break down the intro just a little bit. It begins with a pin of light coming forth, hearkening a new and teal future. The camera then follows the Planet Express ship navigating through a vibrant and thriving New York. Everything seems to be moving in lockstep, with the constant start and stops of a clockwork machine. People zip through tubes, advertisements and buildings sprawl everywhere, and traffic lights flicker like fluttering neon lights. But through it all, the Planet Express ship bobs and weaves through the clutter, showing that they are out of step with everyone else, willing to go against the grain and forge their own path, which comes to an end when they collide with the giant TV, which shows retro-futuristic cartoons, displaying that this series both collides with and breaks down those older ideas. But more important than the visuals is that theme, man. It is filled to the brim with all sorts of subtle sci-fi noises, which should make it into a big mess, but it is guided by two contrasting forces. There's the tolling bell, of course, which seems to be harkening forth both doom and a new age, in this ominous yet hopeful kind of way. And of course, that bass line, my god. Do yourself a favor and get some really good headphones on and do some active listening the next time you watch Futurama, because that bass line is much deeper and much more ingrained in the whole thing than I remember. It is awesome. Sorry about all that. I know we've got an episode to get to, but I thought this was a good time to discuss the intro, as this is an otherwise fairly slow-paced plot. It opens by taking us through a tour of all of the annoying and disruptive things Fry is doing to the Planet Express building, from using the chemical shower as a shower, I guess, to getting bits of bachelor chow everywhere, which has been attracting owls. Gosh, I love that they decided to subvert the whole trope of, New York is full of rats, and instead fill the city with the rats' natural predators. Without directly saying it, we can assume that someone in the past tried to kill all of the rats in New York by filling the city with all of these adorable little goofballs, only to then create a new kind of pest. You know, I was gonna make a joke about, hey, let's fill the city with the things that eat owls, but then Google tells me that apparently skunks of all things will eat owls, which just, like, what the hell? That really blew my mind. Did you guys know that? Did you know that and not tell me? What the heck's going on? Olfactory assassins aside, the Planet Express crew eventually comes to the conclusion that Fry has gotta go, as he is doing dangerous and stupid things. He's doing things like blowing his hair back with the ship's engines and eating priceless dead people.
Great jerky! I was going to eat that mummy.
Now, in the last episode, I really complained about how much of a downer Leela was, but in this one it feels like she's really stepping up and showing that she cares about Fry, playing hardball with him to try to push him into a better environment. It's nice to see her energy being focused into this sort of like, buck up little guy, we'll get you squared away, you big dummy kind of attitude, you know? It's very friendly, very appreciated. Instead of going into full-on lecture mode, she approaches Fry with compassion and understanding, which he totally blows off in favor of watching TV. And normally I would say that is an awful, neglectful, rude, just nasty thing for Fry to be doing, but, gasp, it is all my circuits, and Monique is getting proposed to by Calculon, finally! And he doesn't care that she's metric, he'll convert just for her! Finally, we've done the impossible. The metric and imperial systems beginning to cross-breed, come together and overlook their differences. They said it couldn't be done. Now if we could just get Celsius, Fahrenheit, and Kelvin into a thruple, then we'll be gold. Gold, I say! What a display of love. It's almost as if Calculon and Monique were made for each other, which I guess is possible. You know, just like the ones and zeros in a binary system, it might just be, hey, come together. We expect you to. Come on! But hey, it wasn't all dilithium reactors and replicated Tullaberry pies. I didn't think their relationship could survive that trip to the lost city of Toronto or getting bitten by that radioactive X-ray machine. But hey, here they are, getting married, getting me all choked up. Wait, how'd we get outside? Ugh, cast into the street like yesterday's grandma, Fry and Bender head to the Futurama, which is styled like a conveyor belt sushi place, just with things like martini and popcorn going around. God, this is a fictional wonderland. I would love to go to a place like that. Too bad our real world is a place where we can't have nice things, as a conveyor belt like that would have their treats tipped over in about 3 seconds flat. In a rare showing of compassion, Bender offers Fry a place to stay, saving him from the outrageous price of renting a refrigerator box. Now, this scene in the Futurama is actually very important for a couple of reasons. First of all, it firmly establishes Bender's chemical dependency on alcohol, which fuels his power cells. And secondly, it shows that not even Bender, best boy Bender, is entirely safe from flat line deliveries.
You sure I won't be imposing?
Nah, I've always wanted a pet.
I don't know, what do you think about that? It felt uncharacteristically bland to me. A very sort of like, wrap it up, move on, we gotta get out of this scene already kind of line. Continuing this drab trend, we get invited into Bender's lavish apartment, which has all of the amenities a robot could ask for. What a bold and creative camera angle here, really showing how claustrophobic and suffocating this place is. That's great. But what really makes this scene special is just how out of touch Bender is with even the most basic forms of human functions.
Listen, Bender, where's your bathroom?
Bath what?
Bathroom.
What room?
Bathroom!
What?
Man, I do love crazy situations that will then behave as if being normal is the weird thing to be. Very Munsters style, you know? I feel like that sort of thing has been lost in recent media. We're so dedicated to constructing lore and logical reasons behind fantastical things existing, like the multiverse or whatever, that we've lost a bit of our free-flowing flair. It takes a degree of confidence to spit in logic's face and say, no, actually, bub, you don't know the rules of the game. In fact, we're going to intentionally frustrate your sense of normalcy and see how well you can adapt. How smart are you then when you're on the back step and nothing makes sense? And that sort of confident contempt for the audience really takes guts, as does this rather remarkable pass Fry makes at Leela.
You've got to find a new place to live.
Is that an invitation?
Love your optimism, Fry.
See, look at that. No outrage or shock, just a bit of free-flowing flirting between friends, a rejection which is quickly disregarded by Fry. And that's the kind of trick to getting dates and meeting people. Shoot your shot, but if it doesn't get picked up, then just move on. No stress, no mess. It was a little attempt, it didn't work out, whatever. Just remember to keep things easy going. It is only awkward if you make it awkward, or if you hit on someone while they're giving birth, then that's going to be a little bit of a tough sell. Golly, talking about all this really reminds me of all the great memories of my dating life. And now they're gone. With Bender's apartment being livable in only the basic definition of the word, the gang sets out to find Fry and Bender's new apartment, which gets us a lot of quick gags about the living conditions on Earth. From confronting one of my favorite bosses in Mario RPG, to exploring the labyrinth from Labyrinth, Dance Magic Dance, and contaminating themselves with breathing in that New Jersey air. I kid, of course. Jersey is perfect. Notice how they didn't make a New Jersey in the show? Who needed to? Jersey is already as good as it's gonna get. What's that? My comment section is going to be attacked by people from Jersey. To shreds, you say? Well, what about my like to dislike ratio? To shreds, you say. While I wait to recover from my defamation suit of YouTube Jagoff vs. Jersey, we see that Fry and Bender are granted access to the apartment of one of the professor's old colleagues, who collected crap from all around the universe. My man! But yes, to goose this review on a little bit, just to hurry up, we see that Bender and Fry do a cute little Odd Couple homage, where they trash the apartment and show just how different they are. It is so cozy, the perfect sort of like moving on in kind of feel. But then it all has to get flushed down the, toilet, when we learn that Bender's antenna causes interference on the TV, ruining everything like a ghost pepper enema. This portion does drag on for an agonizingly long time, but after 2 snappy montages, maybe they've earned a bit of self-indulgent wallowing. Oh, and remember back in the day when someone with a large butt was considered like an embarrassing person, that sort of thing, like, oh man, look at old fat ass over here. Do we still make those kind of gags? Because it seems like we've kind of leaned into the other direction lately, and man, does Futurama really sort of play on this whole big butt joke here.
Wow, that lady's got a huge ass. Those could be anyone's thoughts, fat ass.
And my concern, for once, isn't this lady's butt, which honestly looks like it's just being exaggerated by her shirt, but by the extremely recognizable sound of a Star Trek communicator that her phone makes. I'll take any and all references to Star Trek you can muster, show. Anyway, the apartment mob ends up kicking Bender out of the apartment so they can get back to watching some good old TV. And I think this is the first instance of Bender showing off his more adorable and rambunctious side. Just listen to how excited he is at the prospect of fighting against the system with his buddy.
Or we could live underground with the mutants. A little fire'll show 'em who's boss.
But because Fry is all settled in, he doesn't want to move out and believes that Bender will be happy just moving back into his spacious closet. And you know, I think this was a really smart form of characterization for Bender. Oh sure, we all love the chain-smoking, hard-drinking, womanizing sleazebot with a foul mouth and ass of gold, but it can't all be debauchery and decompiling. Predictability is where joy goes to die, and there is a reason why the symbol for the theater is the dual masks of tragedy and comedy. While one wouldn't think that Bender would care at all about Fry, he does, even going so far as to obsess over the skin flakes that Fry has left behind, and, oh, just a little thing here, he gives up drinking. This leaves him in a state that I like to call sober, which turns him into a monster.
If not for yourself, then for the people who love you.
I hate the people who love me, and they hate me.
Unable to stand Leela's horrible compassion, Bender scurries off into the night and goes through this classic trope of walking alone at night, tormented by the neon signs that remind him of his condition. This trope seems to have originated from the 1945 film The Lost Weekend, although some would say that the general idea of the drunken montage began with the 1927 silent German film Metropolis, which, by the way, is coming up on its 100th birthday. Neat. The Simpsons really loved featuring this trope. I think they must have used it like 6 times or something. I know I saw it in Frasier too, so it is a classic for sure. My favorite sign that Bender walks by has to be this one for the public library, as that is definitely the odd duck here. You don't even want to know what happens in those private reading rooms. Anyway, Leela comes back to the apartment, still worried about Bender and Fry's relationship, and can I just say that I really value Leela's energy here? She is just so compassionate and worried about her friends, which is nice, but I will admit sometimes I feel like they go a little bit overboard in this characterization, and it does make it feel like she only exists to babysit her 2 friends. But hey, before this, remember, she worked at the cryogenics lab, so looking after stiffs was her career for many years. You could call her something of a loser with no hobbies or personal life, but I see someone who's made her friends her pet projects. Her priority in life is taking care of those that are too stupid to take care of themselves. And oh god, speaking of too stupid to live, Bender's back, and he's about to cut off his antenna. And now, I want to say, I'm pretty confident here anyway, that this is probably a reference to Lorena Bobbitt, who, removed her husband's antenna while he was sleeping. At first I was going to say that this might be too old of a reference for modern audiences, but Lizzo herself actually referenced Bobbitt in her 2022 song Girls, where she says, quote, "I'ma go Lorena Bobbitt on him so he never fuck again, oh no," unquote. And beyond the pop culture stuff, in the Gulf War itself, apparently some people in the US Air Force used to call the B-52 bombers that had their tail guns removed Bobbitted, so, isn't life a garden of delights? But anyway, that whole antenna business doesn't even matter at all, because, much like Mr. John Wayne Bobbitt himself and his airborne junk, the antenna is quickly recovered and reattached. And while that is sweet and all, I do want to answer a quick question here. Was Fry actually being a jerk to Bender? Truthfully, I do think that Fry was being a bit insensitive, but I don't think he was doing so intentionally. Given what we've seen of Bender so far, it wouldn't be unreasonable to assume that he is beyond things like depression and sorrow. Even when he was headed to the Phantom toll booth, he was pretty upbeat about it. So how was Fry to predict how this roommate situation would affect Bender? Would you think that you were going to upset your microwave if you put it in a closet? If so, then you probably watched The Brave Little Toaster a few too many times back in the day, and now pair up your kitchen appliances based off of the ones that you think would get along best. Oh, my toaster and refrigerator? They're married, don't worry. They've been together for years, and the toaster oven is their baby. So no, I do not think that Fry is a rat-faced, two-timing, selfish, heartless, jerk bastard with no guts, no balls, and stupid hair. But can we really blame ourselves for getting into all of this crazy drama?
After all, you're only human.
Appreciating Bender's gesture, Fry agrees to move back in with Bender, but oh my, it turns out that Bender's apartment has a lot in common with that one Japanese room in King of the Hill, as there is a gorgeous and enormous space behind it, giving Fry a place to live and ending the episode on this delightful bit of nonsense.
Bender, why don't I just live in here?
In a closet? Oh, humans.
So what's really left to say about this humble little episode? Well, it may not feature any crazy adventures or sexy aliens or even something as simple as a 10-car pileup, but it does feel like the most relatable plotline so far. I think we can all relate to the stress of finding someplace to live, weighing the pros and cons, the costs and benefits. Personally, I have lost far too many hours looking around Zillow for my hypothetical perfect house. So far, I've zeroed in on Peoria, Illinois, just a little town south of Chicago, the kind of place where a fella can make videos like this in a peaceful cellar and de-evolve into a chud-like state. But we'll see. Maybe if this YouTube thing takes off, then I'll actually be able to afford one of those reasonable down payments. Ugh, if only. A skeleton can dream, can't he? A skeleton can dream. But enough about my pie-eyed schemes of suburbia. What is next on our Futurama docket? Oh, you know, just an evening with the Zapper and his bottle of champagne. Also, something about a planet full of animals that's about to blow up or implode, yada yada yada, whatever. I'm off to see a saucy puppet show. And so until then, we can say that this episode of Futurama, titled I, Roommate, has indeed been reviewed to death. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.
Bender, stop!
Cutting Leela's head off won't solve anything.